So a while back, someone gave me a chainsaw. What had happened, they ran regular gas in instead of 2-cycle, mix, oil, gas mix in it. Her son did, she said. And it messed up the rings in the piston. So the piston goes up and down inside the cylinder, and those rings got chewed up from lack of lubrication and burned up, so there was no compression. So she gave it to me, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It's a nice still chainsaw. Now what you see here is it's kind of been tore apart a little bit. I'll explain that in a minute. But it's a smaller still chainsaw. I decided I was going to try to rebuild it. So I took it apart. I bought a new cylinder head, new piston, new rings, just different components. All came in a kit for $20. And I took it all apart, cleaned it all up, installed the piston and the rings, did everything I was supposed to do, and it ran for about 30 seconds after I got it back together, and it locked up. What it was, at least this is what I think it is the pin, there's a hole, there's a rod that comes up to a hole. So this is your piston, it goes up and down. This is your connecting rod, it goes up and down like that. So there's a pin that holds the connecting rod to the piston. Inside that hole is a squirrel cage bearing. The original was pressed fit, and I took it out. Had to use a hammer and a tap, and I got it out, and I put the new one in there, and it was loose. And I read the instructions, and I watched some YouTube videos, and it showed it as loose. So I went and put the loose one in there instead of putting that press fit one back in. And you could hear it. I mean, it was pretty loud too. It was hitting pretty hard. So I would imagine that piston got cocked a little bit inside the cylinder and locked it up and tore up the ring. So I decided to do something else. So that was $20. For $30, which I didn't know at the time, but I do now, you can buy the entire engine on Amazon. Everything's there. The piston is in it. You might be able to see inside there. There's the rings, there's the piston. I'll try to turn it so you can see it turn. So it's a complete assembly. I read the reviews. The reviews were better on this one than the kit of the one with the piston and the cylinder head. So I'm going to replace this. And the reason I'm going to do this, I know I'm losing a little bit of money on it. I'm actually not going to lose money. I think I can sell this for maybe 150 bucks. And I got $50 invested in it, plus a carburetor. I bought a new carburetor. So even if I just get my money back out of it, I'll be happy. The reason I'm doing this is seeing if this is a viable solution to people bringing in their chainsaws and saying it's burned up. I would like to get it fixed. If I can buy one of these, put it back in there, relatively cheap, and get them another 5 or 6 years on their chainsaw, that's perfect. So I'm going to go through this, but I am not going to go through detailed step-by-step instructions on how to tear all this all apart and everything. I'll go through the highlights. But if there's a specific area you want to look at, like taking the flywheel off, for example, I'm not going to show you me pounding on it and everything. If you want to see it, just Google it or go to YouTube, because if I did all the detailed steps, it'll be a half-hour long video, and I don't make half-hour long videos. The clutch is a reverse thread, so you have to go the clockwise. This is the squirrel bearing. This is a squirrel bearing, and not the squirrel bearing, but a squirrel bearing. That's what it looks like, and that's what was holding that piston rod, and it was too loose. So with the handle here, these are like little rubber shock absorbers. So there's an end cap that you got to get out. So you get the end cap out. So there's the end cap. And then you'll see the rubber grommet goes through it. Then you have to pop that out. So we'll take off the other end cap. And then you get your screwdriver inside that rubber there, and then it should just pop right out. Torque screws that hold the engine into the plastic frame. Now we have to get the grommet off of for the carburetor, off of the engine. There's a rubber grommet there. I need to get the ignition coil off of it. So there's the old engine. So just for YouTube, I'm going to pull this off and see if we can figure out what happened. So yeah, exactly what I thought happened. This thing bounced around so much. You can see how much play there is there. So that bounced around so much that it knocked the spring out. This pin is actually out of ways. It should be countersunk like on this side. You might be able to see that there's a, well, I said a spring, it's like a clip. It's a spring clip. It fits in a groove, and it knocked that thing out and pushed it. See how it's coming out? And when that spring came out, it chewed up the piston. And then it came up here on the rings on this side and chewed up the rings. I can't even find the spring. So at least I did it right, because I can still see that the rings are in the proper locations. There's little tabs there. That held. Everything did its job. So it was just, I should have just trusted my gut and replaced that press fit squirrel cage. Okay, so I'm going to replace the carburetor grommet that connects the engine to the carburetor. So we'll pop this old one out like that. We'll put the new one on. And I found that it is easier to put it on the engine. So even if I weren't replacing it, it would have been better to take this off and to put it on the engine and then try to get that back into the proper location through the hole. Okay, so I got that grommet poked back through. Just take a little patience and kind of poke it through with a screwdriver, but to try not to tear it up. So now we'll turn it over and put those screws back in. Okay, so I'm gonna put the flywheel back on, but there is a key, built-in key that we have to get in lined up on the shaft. Sorry for the lighting, getting a little dark. Well, it failed compression. So that means the pistons are not, the rings are not sealing up against the cylinder. So I did a compression test, a dry test. Then I put a little oil in the cylinder and it went from 50 to 70. So that tells you that the oil sealed up 20 pounds. So it's very disappointing, but now I know these aftermarket engines aren't going to work. So it's the next morning and I have been able to return the engine back to Amazon. I didn't think about that, so I'm going to give this another shot. They'll send me a replacement. The only downside to this is it's going to cost money to return it. It's 35 miles there and 35 miles back, 70 mile round trip, but you know, $2 or $3. I'm going to keep trying in this. I don't know, I just feel like I want to make this work. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on something. So hope I can inspire you to experiment when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.